Get everything situated here. Okay, so I don't have to look to grab this stuff. Okay, getting close. Yeah, okay. And about done here. Got one more thing to do. All right. The passage, 1 Timothy 6:10. Title of the message is Money, Money, Money. I don't usually talk about money that often. I hardly ever bring a message on giving, and this is not about giving. Not at all. This is about understanding money. And I think the reason I do it, you say, you're led of the Spirit of God? I think I am, but it might be because of my conscience. That I know it was because of my conscience I brought the message the first time. I think it was like in 2010, 2011, somewhere in there. And because I felt like we were heading into something that was cataclysmic, and I wanted the church to be ready. Now, what I'm going to tell you, you can take the advice or not. It makes no difference to me. If you decide to just let it go right over your head, that's okay too. This is one of those messages where I just need to get it off my chest and say some things and maybe warn you of some things. And then after that, it's up to you. But it's biblically based in what I'm going to tell you. That's what I want you to know, that it's in the Bible. 1 Timothy 6:10, though, says this, "For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith, pierced themselves through with many sorrows." Let's have a word of prayer. Father, may you bless the message now. And Father, may it come across with the intent of just being a help and instruction. And thank you for what the Bible has to say about it. And Lord, just pray that you would speak through me and bless me and help me, Father, to get these things across to what's needed. And then I pray that you'd lead your people to do what needs to be done. If nothing, then that's okay with me. And Father, I just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for those here. Please be with those that are traveling. We have a lot of the church out. And just pray that you be with them, Lord, and protect them while they're out and about and bring them back safely. And we'll be sure to give you the glory and honor for it. For we ask these things for Jesus' sake. Amen. So he says there, the love of money is the root of all evil. Now, if he just said money, which a lot of people, they say, what's the root of all evil? They'll say money. No, it's not. Money is not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. But if money were the root of all evil and not the love of it, then every church, every Sunday participates in evil when they pass a collection plate, wouldn't they? I mean, if money were evil. Why are you collecting evil? Okay? No pastor's going to preach that. That'd be insane. Every time you get your check from work, you are receiving evil. Well, they just deposited evil into my account. It's a little short. That's even more evil. I mean, if money was evil, if there was the root of all evil, and it's the love of money, in just about any evil you can come up with that happens in our great country, there is some corruption and some evil connected with it, and I guarantee it's dollar signs that are connected with that thing. We're just finding out that Congress has been making themselves rich. And it's legal, by the way, which I could not believe, you know. Poor Martha Stewart, we put her in jail for insider trading, and come to find out that all the congressmen, there's a whole list of them, both sides of the aisle, they have profited off knowing the legislation they're going to be putting forward or knowing what this company's going to do and that company's going to do because they're in the know, and then putting their money in there, and they're making millions and millions of dollars. Isn't that disheartening? You read that, and I mean, they're going to throw you in jail if you cheat the government. They'll throw you in jail, the IRS will, for cheating the government out of $20. And yet they are under, you say, but they're legally doing it. Yeah. Why we haven't passed a law stopping that? Because now they're going to get around to it, to passing a law so that they can't trade stocks while they're in the U.S. Congress. We said, what is that? That's the love of money. It's the love of money. You know, the Bible even tells a man of God or a preacher, he tells a preacher or a pastor that he's not to do this job for filthy lucre's sake. He's not to do it for the money. He's to do it for other reasons, like he wants to serve God. There's some preachers out there doing it for the money. They're making big money too. Every time you spend even a dime, you would be doing evil if money was evil. If the money was the root of all evil, every time you spent money, you'd be doing evil. It's obviously not that. It's the love of money. Money is necessary as a medium of exchange. That's why we have money. You say, why? How? Well, I think we should just go back to get rid of money. Well, there's a problem with that. If you happen to be a farmer, you can't carry around your crops in your wallet. You can't carry around 30 tons of corn in your back pocket to do business. But you can trade that 32 tons of corn for coin that you can put in your pocket. And then you can go and trade with others. So money is a medium of exchange. For goods and services to be readily available, you have to have some form of money. That's just how it works. That's how our society works. Is there downsides to it? Well, of course there is. Typically the fact that people fall in love with money. They think that money, there's a money answereth all things. That's a Bible verse. You know, money talks, we would say. The Bible says money answereth all things. And that's what the people of this world and people of this country, they're looking for money. They have fallen in love with it. They are spending day and night trying to gather it. It can be pretty fleeting, though. Salt and even seashells have been money. They really have. The word salary comes from the Latin word. I think it's salarium or something like that. But literally the word salary came from the word salt. And salt used to be a form of money. I believe it's a Latin word there. But salt used to be a form of money. Seashells have been a form of money. You say, what is it? Well, whatever happens to be lacking that's needed can be a form of money. Now, it didn't mean it's a good form of money. We're going to look at that in a minute. But let's get into the Bible part of this. And I thought, you know, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start looking through the Bible at the word money. And I was absolutely shocked. I was shocked at how many times you'll find it, but I was also shocked at where I found it. You know that the word money, the first 4 times it shows up, the first 4 times is in Genesis 17, starting in verse 12. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. Do you know it says that 4 times in that chapter? The first 4 times that money is found in the Bible, it's connected with human trafficking. The first 4 times. Buying and selling of a servant. The last time was the verse that we read, for the love of money is the root of all evil. It's about being bought or sold. If you're in love with money, you've been bought, actually by money. You're bought and sold by money. And they were buying and selling servants. Now, there's a reason for that. And I'm not talking about rape. I'm not talking about prostitutions, pedophiles, kidnappings. The Bible has an answer for all that. You eliminate them. There's a death penalty for every one of those. We're not talking about that. We're talking about servitude. We're talking about slaves, that kind of thing. And you say, why is that stuff in the Bible? That stuff is in the Bible to remind you that we're fallen. And that you will be bought or sold. One or the other. You got to make up your mind. In fact, a lot of slavery in the Bible, and God set up a system of it. He set up a system. It's more or less a servitude, but it's indentured slavery, where you could sell yourself into servitude. I think this is a good welfare system myself. I personally would endorse it. Rather than somebody sitting on their backside collecting check of money that I'm out there working for and hard working for, why don't we just have a system of indentured servitude? I'm not talking about abuse. We're not talking about anybody getting beat and hung and all this kind of thing. We're talking about service. But because you're fallen on hard times, the Bible says you could sell yourself into servitude. And how it worked with the Jews was that even the Jews themselves could sell themselves into servitude, and they would go into servitude for 7 years. At the end of that 7 years, they were released. Now, if they didn't want to be released, there was something in place for that. But just going on, they had to be released. Now, when it came to who they conquered in war, if they made them servants, they were there forever. And that happens all over the planet. We talk about that in a little bit. Anyway. But there's a reason why that slavery exists, and it's all tied to your salvation. And God will remind you of it every day. Romans 6:17 says, "But God be thanked that ye were the servants of sin." Talked about Christians. "But ye have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was believed," or which was delivered you. 1 Corinthians 6:20 says, "For ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." So you were the servant of sin, and then what happened? Somebody bought you on the slave block of sin. The Lord bought you, paid for you. That's why this Bible, when it talks about a servant, it says, "For he is his money, and you are God's." He owns your body and your spirit. Why? He paid for it. He bought you. It may shock people, but that's what the Scriptures teach, and that's the reason why we still have slavery. I know you may not think so. The African slave market, about 18 million blacks were taken from Africa. I think very few of them sold themselves. I'd say more like they were kidnapped. And about 500,000 of them came to the United States out of 18 million. Well, maybe 4 or 5 million died on the way here. Terrible conditions. About 13 million total actually made it, and only about 500,000 made it to the United States. The rest of them went someplace else. A lot of different places that we never read about. But about 500,000 here, and then of course they bred them here to keep the line going. The Islamic slave trade, because I know you think if it's only black, you only been reading certain material. Listen, slavery covers every ethnicity, every color, every religion. I mean, it is all through our world system. The Islamic slave trade has been going on for 1,200 years, man. And I think this is a low number. 18 million, I think that's low. They will go in and kill half the people in a village and take the other half slaves, and they could be black, they could be Arabs like themselves, they could be European whites. They don't care who it is, man. They will enslave them because theirs is one of religion. They're doing it because you are not their religion. Therefore, they will enslave you. Care who you are. The Roman Empire had about 10 million slaves. Many people believe that's what ruined Rome. Everything, they just had slaves doing all the work. But they had about 10 million. And that crossed every kind of boundary you can imagine, because whoever they conquered, they enslaved. The Indian subcontinent, they have millions of slaves. India's still big in slavery. I don't know if you know that. But they enslaved their own people because they got 1 billion. So it's a big deal if we have 20 million slaves in this country of 1 billion people. And you have, I don't know if it's the lower caste or whatever it is. I'm not sure all about that, but I know that they have slaves there. A lot of people don't know about the Barbary pirates. This is North Africa. For 300 years, they invaded England. This is before black African slave trade. They would attack, and in fact, all of Europe. They would go in and raid, and they would steal white people. Check it out. To the tune of about 1.25 million. And they needed about 8,000 a year to keep replenishing the slaves that they had. And they were brutal. You say, who are these people? Well, a lot of them were probably either Muslim. I would say they're probably Muslim. But it was an African. They're Africans going and stealing people from England. See, it's not just one-sided. It's all over. As a matter of fact, they gave almost they took almost 2.5 times the white people. The United States only took about 500,000 blacks from Africa. Now, I know the others went someplace else, but about 500,000. It's everybody. Okay, you say, well, thank God we don't have slavery today. You know there are about 50 million slaves today? If you count modern slavery, this is how they define it: forced labor, human trafficking, debt bondage, that's kind of like indentured servitude, forced marriages, exploitation of children, it's found in 160 nations today, to the tune of about 50 million slaves. That's almost more than all of them that I talked about. And those are just the major ones. The ones that are guilty today, is exceptionally guilty: India, China, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Uzbekistan. They have the highest rates of slavery. Well, I'm looking at one that's Hindu, communist, Muslim. I don't know about Bangladesh. I'd have to see what they're into. And Uzbekistan, I'm not sure about them. But those other majors, okay, when the Barbary pilots were stealing white folk, European whites, from the continent of Europe, when they were stealing from them, they wanted Christians because they said they make the best slaves. Isn't that interesting? You know, if a Christian believed his Bible, I mean, if God put him in that situation, he would accept it. Now, if he can be free, if he can get free, fine. But while he's in that situation, he's to trust God, isn't he? You know what? Africa all of a sudden has this Christian influence. You say, would God allow his own children to become slaves to propagate the gospel? The Moravian missionaries, which were a Christian group, would sell themselves into slavery in Muslim countries so they could reach them. I don't know anybody like that today. But there's some men there that are going to have some crowns. That's incredible to me. Now, I just said all that because that's where I first found first time money's found in the Bible 4 times. It's corrected with buying a servant. Just let you know you're bought and sold from the very beginning, man. Let's talk about the fundamentals of real money, though. And that's really what I want to talk about. I've got 6 fundamentals, I think, and at least one of them or 2 of them are biblical. I think they're all biblical, but I think when you talk about sound money, there's been so many different things that have been money, okay? You've got paper in your wallet, you've got change in your change purse, and to you that's money. And I'm not going to tell you that it's not currency. I believe that it is, but I'm not going to, I want to talk about the 6 fundamentals of sound money. What makes sound money? The Bible defines it. Well, first thing is relative scarcity. Rocks and sand will never be money, will it? Because it's worthless. Now, you might have a sand pit or a gravel pit where you make a lot of money, but you can't carry all that tonnage around in your pocket, can you? You might be able to exchange it for money, but so it's not really good. Rocks and sand won't work. Green grass, well, we would be richest in town because this grass grows like nobody's business. If it's going to be a medium of exchange, it's got to be something that's scarce, that there's not a huge amount of it. And then there's durability. Anything that can rot, rust, or dissolve is not good money. Now, you said, well, salt, yeah, but at the time, they needed the salt, and I'm sure, but they ate it, didn't they? That's how a lot of times they consumed the salt because they had so little of it. Let me ask you, will that work today? I can go buy a 40-pound bag of salt for $7. And if I can grind it up and give you this much for $7, I'll have it by next Sunday. Well, it's not going to work, right? And the other thing is that if you leave it out in the rain, your salt dissolves. You can say, my whole life's account, my whole bank account just dissolved out in the parking lot because somebody didn't put the lid on my salt can. It could dissolve, or it could rot, or it could rust. Food can be a great commodity, but doesn't make good money. Divisibility. Can it be divided into smaller amounts and still retain value? Well, that's important. I mean, if you can't just, let's say I have art has value. Okay, so I've got the Mona Lisa. And I want to buy something and I only need half the price of that Mona Lisa. What am I going to do, tear it in half? Then what's it worth? You see, it destroys the very value of the thing that I want to use as money. So it's got to have divisibility. You have to be able to have smaller parts of it or smaller pieces of it and still retain value. Then there's intrinsic value. And this is the inherent worth. In other words, it's valuable in and of itself. You're getting told a big lie. And in fact, there's a couple big lies spread out there. Number one, that paper is worth something. And number two, that Bitcoin is worth something. Bitcoin is worth less than the paper. Why? It's nothing. It's nothing. You're buying nothing. You're taking your paper money, which is not worth much, and you're buying nothing called Bitcoin. Now, I'll get into that. Warren Buffett referred to Bitcoin as the greater fool theory. And that is, you got to find a bigger fool than yourself that's willing to buy into that. I mean, it truly is a pyramid. It will come crashing down just like any fiat system. When I say fiat, there's nothing backing up the money. Nothing. Just paper. If you look in your pocket right now, you have a Federal Reserve notes. You do not have a silver certificate like that. That silver certificate says on there, I don't know if you get a good shot of that. Still need to. Lower. Okay. Okay. Just want to get it on there so they can see it. But this says, silver certificate. This certifies there's on deposit in the Treasury of the United States of America $5 in silver payable to the bearer on demand. Now it's no good anymore. Why? We went off that standard. What yours says is a Federal Reserve note. You say, what is it? It's paper. There's nothing backing it up. Your $20 bill, $50 bill, $100 bill, $500 bill, whatever you got, there ain't nothing backing that up. It has no value, no intrinsic value of itself. This paper is not worth anything. In fact, I don't even think this $5 bill, I still might be able to trade it. I don't know. I really don't know. I might not be able to. But somebody might give me $5.20 for this. It's not like it's that valuable. So what we call numismatic, I think I pronounced that right, but a numismatic value is the collectible value. That's completely different what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's a silver certificate because it does have value. I can go and get the silver when this was good. I could go to the bank and say, hey, give me my silver. Then they would have to give me that precious metal that has value to it in and of itself. All right. No third-party risk. And here's where we'll get into some of the reasons why none of this stuff works for you. The reason why the banknotes don't work and Bitcoin doesn't work is because you have third-party risk. Anyone that can get into your business, like banks, governments, and gadgets, that's how they do it. Banks control your money. If something goes wrong out here, okay, in society, anything, it could be an earthquake. It could be a volcano. It could be a solar flare. It could be war breaking out. It could be the stock market collapsing in one day. And you say, oh, I'm headed to the bank. Get my money. Like everybody is headed to the bank getting their money. You think you're going to get your money. You're not. They might give you a couple $100 of your money, but they're going to say, nope, it's a run on the banks. First of all, they don't have that much cash. Secondly, they want to slow this thing down. Now, here's the thing. Your money can be depreciating or inflating every day, and you can't get it out. Why? They've got control of it. And you know what they're going to give you when they do give it to you? Not gold and silver. You get paper. So now you're stuck with something in your hand that is inflating. You say, how do you know that? I'll tell you how I know that. If you used to be able to buy a pound of hamburger for $0.25, now your dollar bill is worth about 3 cents, I think 4 cents, something like that. Between 3 cents and 4 cents, that's how much it's inflated. The hamburger never got more expensive. That's what they tell you. It never got more expensive. Your money became less valuable. That's what happened. Because I'll prove to you that with a precious metal, I can still go buy that pound of hamburger. In fact, I can buy ground chuck for the same quarter. You're dependent on banks. You're dependent on government. Hey, the government's the one that produced these. I'm talking about the real ones. They produce those Federal Reserve notes. Even though it's a private bank, the government allows them to issue this currency. Gadgets. Here's why Bitcoin is dangerous. Why? It's dependent on cell phones and computers. It's dependent on electricity. It's dependent on an app. And every bit of that is dependent on the internet. And all of that's controlled by the global elite. You got third-party risk. You know what Jesus said when he got ready to leave? He said, because he told him, he said, you don't need a purse. You don't even need an extra pair of shoes. You're with me. I'll take care of you. But when he got ready to leave, he said, not only are you to have a sword, he said, even if you have to sell a garment, get you a sword. He said, you're to have, what's the word I'm thinking? Scrip, which is, it's a shepherd's bag. It's like an overnight bag. We call them bug-out bags today. But he said you should have your scrip, and then he said, and you should have your purse with you. Now, he defined what was in that purse the first couple times he said it. I'm going to be repeating this too. He had gold, silver, and brass is what he mentioned, those three metals that would be in those purses. He said, have it with you. The only way you have sound money is if what you have in your possession is in and of itself valuable, and it's in your possession. You control it. Not a computer, not a government. You say, well, somebody could just come in. Somebody can always come in. I mean, they'll come in and try to take what you got no matter what you got. You have to be the one to defend that. That's why the sword comes into it. You're to defend what you have. But it's better than somebody else controlling what you have. All right? So there's relative scarcity, durability, divisibility, intrinsic value, no third-party risk. Matter of fact, look at Luke 22. I'll read it to you. If I get ahead of myself here, I want you not thinking that I'm just saying all this because I believe something. The Bible teaches it. Verse 35 and 36. I'm sorry, is that right? 22? I'm in the wrong chapter. 35 and 36. Here we go. And he said to them, when I sent you without purse and scrip and shoes, lacked ye anything? They said, nothing. Then he said unto them, but now, why? Because he's getting ready to leave. He's getting ready to send up into heaven. But now, he that hath a purse. Okay, you say, why do they call them purses? Because when you had nothing but coins, that's what you put them in. We call it a change purse. And I can remember in the day when every old person you ever met in your life would bring out a change purse and have their coins in there. And that just to fascinate me, you know, you go and they said, well, come here, Sonny. And they got that change purse and they just go through there and they're getting out that quarter and that dime or whatever. It always just amazed me that they all had change purses. I can remember when I had a change purse. Okay, not a purse, change purse. Anyway, then he said unto them, but now he that hath a purse, let him take it. In other words, have it with you. And likewise his scrip, there's his overnight bag. And he that hath no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. Why? We're in a dangerous world. And you may have to defend yourself against thieves, robbers. You have every right to defend yourself and your family and your possessions from thieves and robbers. You have every right. Don't let anybody, that's not a constitutional right. That's a Bible right. And the Bible says you have the right to be armed too. Okay. So the Bible defines what real money is. In Jeremiah 32:9, it says this. It says, and I bought the field of Hanameel, my uncle's son, that was in Anathoth, and weighed him the money, even 17 shekels of silver. So money, real money, is going to be measured primarily by weight. And of course, here it's shekels of silver. We're talking, there are thousands of years where this was true. And anytime they deviated from what God said was real money, you have a failure in the economy. Every time. Every fiat system ever given or ever plotted and planned by a bunch of politicians, every time it failed. Usually the average life of a fiat system is 40 years. We're at 60-something and counting. We are very due. And they know we are. The reason I'm telling you this is it's just not me. Maybe in 2010, 2011, maybe it's a lot me. It's not just me now. They're all saying it. The reset is coming. The reset is coming. How many of you have heard that? If you haven't, I don't know what you're watching, man. You better get off NBC and CBS and start turning over to another station where they got some economists on there. They're all going, okay, by the way, and this is something that happened, and I like to think of it's called the BCBS, and it has to, I can't give you the name of it, but they set the international standards. They just designated gold as a tier 1 asset. Nobody's on gold. And yet the bank, or this organization that sets it for all the banks and all the countries, just set gold at a tier 1 asset. So you know what happened? All of a sudden, tons and tons of gold are leaving London, and the biggest blob of it is coming to the United States. China's been buying it like crazy. All governments and banks are buying. Why are they buying gold? We're on paper. Because that paper system's about to fold. It's getting close. You know what? I skipped something. Yeah, I skipped the 6th one. I said no third-party risk, and this is important. A trinity of exchange. This is something that they won't tell you, but I'll tell you. The Bible tells you. The Bible teaches a capitalistic system. Did you know that? It teaches capitalism. I can prove that to you, and I will. But you need something to cover, like we have a 3-class system, right? We have the rich, the middle class, and we have the poor. All right? They've been trying to eliminate the middle class for about 50 years. But we have a trinity, or there was in this country a trinity of exchange, and that is, since it's a 3-class system, you need one precious metal for each class. That's what the Bible laid out. Gold, silver, brass. Or bronze, just a matter which you got. Zinc or tin you add to copper is the only the difference between brass and bronze. Okay? But you have those 3 metals. One represents the rich. The gold, silver is a poor man's, said to be a poor man's gold, is really middle class. And then you have copper, or brass, or bronze for the poor. What did the widow lady put into the offering? 2 mites. They'll show you. You can get pictures of them. They're brass or bronze coins. That's what a poor person would have in their purse. So you have a trinity of metals, one exchange for each class. Now let me get back to where I was going to go. Let me prove to you a capitalistic system in the Bible. In Acts chapter 5, and it's a sad thing here, but in Acts chapter 5, you have a couple, Ananias and Sapphira, and they want to sell a portion of land and give it to the church. That's wonderful. But what happens is they end up getting dropped dead. And it's not because of the money. It says this in Acts 5:4, and I'm just not going into all of it, I'm just reading this part. Whiles it remained, they've called him on the carpet. It said, whiles it remained, the land, was it not thine own? Personal ownership of property. They say, whiles it remained, before you sold it, wasn't it yours? Yes. And after it was sold, was it not in thine own power? Wasn't the money yours? Yes. Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart? Thou hast not lied unto men, but unto God. It's not that he didn't give them the money. It's that he lied about what he gave. And when he lied to these men, because he was giving it to God, he lied to God. And as a result of that, he ends up getting dropped dead, and then his wife comes in, and she was in cahoots with him, and they dropped her dead, man. I mean, they didn't even have to touch her. The Lord killed both of them for lying. Dr. Rugby used to say if that were still true today, you could walk to California and step on a dead body every step of the way. Christian body. People lie to God all the time. In Exodus 25:3, and this is the offering which ye shall take of them, gold and silver and brass. 3 metals. Why? God's a Trinity. So he's going to have 3 metals. He tells you capitalism, 3 classes. Do you know that communism, socialism, fascism, Roman Catholicism, did I say communism? They're all 2-class systems. All 2-class. Get rid of the middle class, and we'll fall in one of those things. We'll either be fascist, communist. Of course, there's not much difference. You know that Francisco Franco was Roman Catholic. Adolf Hitler was Roman Catholic, confirmed. I mean, these dictators that were Roman Catholic didn't have any problem being fascist or communist even. They don't care. These 2-class systems. But if you're going to have a capitalistic system where people can own things and control their own money, that's a capitalistic system. That's a 3-party system. Each one of those metals is in and of itself a store of value. It's not paper. Now, let's talk about this a little bit. All the gold that has been mined is still around. Unless you lost some of it, you know, that's a small amount. For the most part, all the gold still exists. And it would fill easily 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. In fact, it would contain all of it. And you're talking about, for the whole world, 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. I think if you divided it into ounces, everybody would get less than 1/2 ounce for the 8 billion people that are on this planet. So it's scarce. It's scarce. That's why it makes good money. It's not like gravel and grass. Historically, when you find gold in the earth compared to silver, you find that for every ounce of gold, there's 16 ounces of silver. Now that's changed because now they're saying that because we've got all the surface, it's getting much harder and much deeper to go to get silver. And they're saying it's a 1-to-7 ratio. That's where right now the difference, the ratio between gold and silver today is over 100-to-1. It takes 100 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. that is not going to last. And I have been watching this for 15 years, and I've never seen it get this high, the ratio. But usually every time it does, it's like a slingshot. There is a shortage of silver because we're consuming it. It's in, what's those things that collect energy? Solar panels. They use them in solar panels, big time, electronics. Some gold, but very little gold, more silver than anything else. It's being consumed as well as it's considered a hedge. People buy it, jewelry, that kind of thing is being used up. But let me give you an example here. This is let her get a picture of that. This is a gold ring, and inside that gold ring is a gold coin. And I never even noticed it until I really paid attention to it. But that is that's a golden eagle, 1/10 ounce golden eagle. And if you were to try to purchase that right now, let me see if I've got where have I got that at? It should be right here. I'll find it somewhere. I think it's on down through here. Anyway, let me read you the verse in Matthew 10:9. I'm getting ahead of myself. Provide neither gold nor silver nor brass in your purses. So again, even in the New Testament, God is still defining what money is that's in your purse. And he says it's gold, silver, and brass. Gold is found 427 times in the Bible. I never did tell you how many times money's found in there, did I? I've got so much information. It's all over the place. Money is found 140 times. 140. Gold's found 427 times. The word golden is found 66 times. It's rare and difficult to extract, physically beautiful, chemically stable, doesn't corrode or degrade over time. You can bury this in the earth, and 300 years from now, dig it up, rinse it off, and it'll look just like that. There's not a lot of things that react with it. It takes aqua regia, which is nitric and hydrochloric, to even dissolve it. Those two nasty acids together. It's malleable, ductile. I mean, it's highly workable. Makes a great connection as far as that, but it's not used, but it's used a lot for jewelry. But mainly it's used by banks. It's used for a gold system that we used to have here in this country. Silver. Silver is found 321 times in the Bible, about half. Well, more than half. 321 times in the Bible. It's extremely high electrical and thermal conductivity, used in electronics, solar panels, jewelry, coins, and medicine. Historically used as currency and in trade, and it has antibacterial properties to it. It's used in wound dressings, water purification, all kinds of medical devices. Stuff that they'll put inside you, they will impregnate it with silver because it's antibacterial. A lot of the kings and royalty knew that. That's why they drank out of silver chalices and things. I mean, you could take milk and put it into a container with a silver coin, and that milk will keep about 2 or 3 times longer than if you had nothing in there. A lot of times for purification of water, they just put some coins in their canteens or in their water containers to keep the water pure. I have to use this one. This is small. It's a penny. That's before 1982. Because after 1982, you don't have a penny any longer. Brass. Found 126 times in the Bible. Bronze or copper, difference to whether it contains zinc or tin. Electrical wiring, motors, plumbing and roofing. Of course, the alloys are brass and bronze. Coinage and cookware, and it's antimicrobial. they create antimicrobial surfaces with it, even in hospitals. But I haven't seen a lot of that these days. But one of the things you see is, and they can do it with zinc or they can do it with copper, is you get moss growing on your roof, on your shingles and everything. And what they'll do is they'll come in, they'll put a strip of zinc, or they can put a strip of copper. And as the rain washes the copper down, kills what's growing on your roof. You have copper pipes in your house. There's a reason for that. Keeps down microbes, keeps them from growing in your pipes. But so let me talk a little bit about this golden ring here. And I got to move along. When we were on the gold standard, and very few of you probably remember that, we actually went off silver in 1971. That's when our coinage went from silver to pot metal. In 1933, we went off the gold standard when they collected all the gold or confiscated the gold. And of course, you got to understand that was money then. So they confiscated it and they gave them something for it, and then they turned around and raised the price of gold and kind of cheated them. That's what you expect out of your government. It's a little bit different now, because now our money is currency, it's paper, is useless. If you were to try to buy that ring with that, if you try to buy just that 1/10 ounce piece of gold in there, I looked it up, $433. It's not even as big as a dime. If you were to buy the ring and everything, it might be double that, because that's 14 karat gold that's around it. You see, that has a store of wealth. I can hang that around my neck. I don't think I put it on my finger. I don't think I can get it off. But carry that around to store wealth. You can walk into any coin store, jewelry store, that anyone that buys gold, that's what they'd have to give you for it. Yet, that gold piece, let's say that were a full-size $20 gold piece. That's what it was worth, $20. But do you know what $20 could buy you back then? They say about a $20 gold piece, you could buy an expensive suit, a good pair of cowboy boots, and a nice hat. Shirt and everything. I mean, you could buy an entire outfit, socks, you name it, with a $20 gold piece. Today, that same gold piece is worth $3,300. Think you could go out and buy a nice suit with that? Pair of shoes, shirt, hat? See why? Precious metals don't inflate. You can't print them. There's a limited amount of it. And if you have a limited amount in your body or on your person, and that is money, that's what you have. You know what our Congress does? They just fire up the printing presses. Why? There's nothing to it. And when they do that, that's where you get your inflation. That's why you're paying $5 for a pound of hamburger, when you could have just paid a quarter. You say, why? Because, and I'm getting ahead of myself, that silver quarter right there will buy, you say, what's that worth? That silver quarter right there is worth $6. That quarter right there. United States, George Washington right on it. It's a 1950 silver quarter. It's worth $6. I can take it to any coin shop, and they will give me the spot value or the melt value of that coin right now today. Well, maybe not today, but tomorrow. And then I can go buy a pound of hamburger with that. Why? It didn't inflate. So a silver dollar, and these are all, you usually find this stuff pre-65. Anything before 1965, you can find silver coins. They're very rare to find now. Some people still do find them when they go through their change. It's a rare thing to find silver now. It's all pot metal or base metal. This silver dollar, it's 90% silver. It's equivalent to 3/4 of an ounce silver right there. That is a Morgan silver dollar. Well, I'm sorry. That's a Morgan silver dollar. You can find trade dollars Liberty dollars, peace dollars, Eisenhower, all silver, all worth the same. See, what's it worth? Well, in silver alone, it's worth $26. $26. Because it is a Morgan silver dollar, it's collectible. So it has a higher premium on it. You can get, if they're in good shape, they're as high as $45. And some of them are worth thousands because of the particular thing about that coin. It's rare. But besides the numismatic, $26. That silver dollar. That's a Sacagawea. I pronounced that right? That is a, you can buy you can get a Sacagawea, a Susan B. Anthony. How many of you got any Susan B's? Okay. The presidential dollar. You know it's worth in metals? 7 cents. Probably costs more to produce that. 7 cents is what it's worth. It's actually worth more than what a dollar is actually worth. That's scary, isn't it? Told you about that silver quarter's worth about $6. The new quarters today are worth 6 cents in base metals. You don't need to. Silver dime. Here's a silver dime. $2.40 in silver. I can buy a big honking candy bar. About that. Well, is it about right? I haven't eaten a candy bar in so long, I don't know what they cost. I can still buy a candy bar with that. It could be a seated, what they call a seated dime, where Lady Liberty is seated. It could be a Mercury dime. It could be a Barber dime. It's the guy that designed it. It could be a Roosevelt dime, like this one is. It's silver. So what's it worth? Worth $2.40 today. This dime, 2 cents. 2 cents in metals. Now, I do have a war nickel. I wanted to bring that up. War nickels between 42 and 45. They're about 35% silver. They're rare because there's only like 3 years they made them. And this war nickel, this nickel will buy a loaf of bread. It's worth $1.90 in silver, 35% silver. It'll still, cheap loaf of bread, but it'll buy a loaf of bread. You know what they say, a nickel for a loaf of bread? It's still a nickel. It's still a nickel. But it's got to be something worth something. You start to get the picture here? You've been sold. You've been sold. Even the penny. This copper penny is worth 2.5 cents. It's worth 2.5 times its face value. It's worth more as copper than it is the penny. You know how I know copper's valuable? They will steal your air conditioning unit to get the copper. They will rip the wire out of your house to get the copper. Must be worth something, right? By the way, copper keeps going up. It's nearly $5 a pound now. And usually that's a bad sign when it starts getting close to $5 a pound for an economy. Because copper's important. Now let's see what I missed. I don't think I did. All right. Last point. Wisdom is justified of her children. You say, what does that mean? Well, it's validated by those who take heed to it. They at least take a look at the Bible, take a look at the situation, go, Because of all the talk and everything, you say, what do you recommend? I recommend you get some precious metal. I didn't say borrow money to get it. And if you don't, you say, well, I don't have 2 nickels rubbed together. Well, then, nobody can take from you what you don't have. If you don't have it, they can't take it. But if you've lived and worked hard your entire life and you put together this nest egg, they're going to take it. In fact, you are losing it slowly to inflation. And that's not going to go down. It's going to keep going up. It's going to keep coming back. You might want to take a portion of that, a little bit of that. Maybe you're able to, on a paycheck-to-paycheck basis, go and buy 6 quarters, 6 silver quarters. That's 1 ounce. Or 14 dimes, silver dimes. That's 1 ounce. You'll pay spot price, plus you'll pay a premium. Because they're just not going to sell you the dimes for what they're worth. They're going to sell you plus a premium. That's how they make money and go to their grocery store. But you'll have that on your possession. Take it to your home, Hide it in the coffee can or in the freezer, Hide it wherever you want. Protect it. And if everything goes under, guess what you have? You have precious metal. You have real money in your hand. And it doesn't inflate. It's going to buy. In fact, it'll buy a lot more than you ever thought it would. So just consider some precious metals a hedge. I didn't say anything about an investment. It's not about an investment. Don't borrow money to get it. Buy a little time if you have to. If you don't want to, don't. But I am telling you that sound wisdom and sound advice from the Scriptures is you better have your purse and it better have something in it other than paper. That's what he told you to do. Take your purse. And that purse held gold, silver, and brass. Did it not? Store it safely and securely till you need it. Buy it from a reputable dealer, please. Go to a coin shop and buy it. You can buy it online. Be careful. Don't buy it from eBay or Walmart. They've been known to get counterfeits in from China. They can counterfeit things. You can buy, well, this one's a Kennedy. This is a 90% Kennedy half. They also made 40% Kennedy halves after 1965. But anyway, you can take the quarter, the dime, the $50, and you can buy it in those increments. You say, what good's that? Well, first of all, they're American currency still. That's a double blessing. You can take that anywhere. There will be a time, I know you don't believe me. Maybe I won't live long enough, or maybe I will. But there will be a time when that quarter will buy an entire cart full of groceries. I know you don't believe that, but it will. When the Weimar Republic, during hyperinflation, they were trying to put their marks into everything. They were trying to put it into dollars. They were trying to put it in gold and silver. They just couldn't get it. Because once it happens, you're not getting it. You're not going to that coin store and saying, I want to give you my worthless paper for your silver. They're not going to take it then. You know that, right? They're not going to sell it to you then. You got to do this ahead of time. You got to think ahead of time to have a little bit of it. So I'm not telling you to sell your house and do this. I'm not telling you to sell everything and close out your 401k. I'm not telling you that. I'm saying maybe just have a little. Maybe have a jar full that you can go to the grocery on. If the thing collapses or they do the reset, and they are planning on doing it. What was I talking about? You can get 90% U.S. coins, or you can get these things. See, I didn't care. As long as it's silver, I don't care what it is. Okay? I mean, if it's emeralds, I'll buy them. You know, they made those out of gold and silver. I mean, if it's cheaper, that's what, that's an inside joke. That's really a bad joke. This one says, happy birthday. It's called a silver round. It's 1 ounce, 99.9% pure silver. They make these things for everything. They got everything from a slug on it to a panda bear to, you name it. They got, this one says Happy New Year, 1987. So what is it? Silver. 1 ounce pure silver. So what's it worth? About $33. And by the way, that would be dirt cheap compared to what gold is, right? Since it's $3,300. Not a lot of people can afford gold, but maybe you can afford a little silver. Maybe you can put a couple of these aside. Maybe you can buy one of these every paycheck or every month. I mean, just buy 1 ounce. Now, I've tried to buy these dimes and quarters and $50 and everything, I mean, these quarters, I mean, they feel different. They weigh different. And you can walk into any coin shop, plop that down and say, can you give me what that's worth? And he'll give it to you. If you go in there with one of these quarters, this one's I don't even know if they put the date on them anymore, do they? Where's the date of this thing? This is the District of Columbia. That's not a good one. This is 2009. Go in there if you want to have a good laugh, or you might get punched, but go ahead and try it. Go in there with one of these and then one of these. Plop down this one first, the 2009. Say, I'd like you to give me the money for that quarter. He'll laugh you right out of that shop. Plop the other one down, he'll hand you $6 and something. Because that's what it's worth. See, the wealth is in my hand. It's contained in the very coin. Now, I had to earn this money somewhere along the line. I didn't steal it. I had to earn this money somewhere along the line, and my labor is in my hand. All right. The last thing is that the government can't steal what the government can't find. Just remember that. Okay. Next thing, hyperinflation can't happen in America. Well, it's already happened. Your dollar is only worth 3 pennies, 4 at the most, and it's going to get even less. Why? They keep printing it. They keep printing more money. The more they print, the more they print is more like rocks and gravel. Rocks and gravel. Or rocks and grass, whatever. They just keep printing more and more. And they're diluting the money supply because they can. Let me read this to you and I'm done. In January 1919, an ounce of gold in the Weimar Republic cost 170 German marks. In January of 1923, the same ounce of gold cost 372,477 marks. See, there comes a point to where it doesn't matter what you think this is worth, all the paper in the country. There'll be a point to where it couldn't buy that. In the Weimar, they had wheelbarrows full of paper. They steal the wheelbarrow, dump the paper out, and take the wheelbarrow. It was worth more than that stack of money that was in there. 170 German marks, and then January of 1923, 372,477 marks. And by October, 10 months, by October 1923, it cost 87 trillion marks for 1 ounce of gold. We call that hyperinflation. Demonstrating how worthless a market can become in just months. Not years, months. It's kind of like little by little, and then there'll be an all-at-once event. Only in retrospect did it become clear that the German central bank was to blame. No kidding. The bank had printed money to pay for war reparations after World War I, to get rid of the national debt and build up the post-war regime. The banks did it, just like they're doing it now. Well, they're printing. We're a debt-based society. Once we went to that reserve note and paper, it's debt-based, not gold-based, not silver-based. In 1921 Poland, food prices doubled every 19 days. In 1944 Greece, food prices doubled every 4 days. In 1946 Hungary, they doubled every 15 hours. In 1989 Argentina, the peso was devalued 3 times, driving food prices up over 3,000% in a single year. In 1994 Brazil, inflation raged at 2,000% per year. In 1994 Yugoslavia, food prices doubled every 34 hours. In 2008 Zimbabwe, they doubled every single day. Imagine that pound of hamburger you paid $5 for that day, come back the next day, it's 10, 2 days later, 15, 20, 25, 30, and then it just goes exponential on you. Now you got to have a wheelbarrow, not a wallet, to go buy a pound of hamburger. I think a pound of hamburger ended up being 3 billion marks during the Weimar Republic. And by the way, I have a real Zimbabwe, Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. It's got its own, what do you call it? Numbers. Serial number. It's got its own serial number. You say, what is it? $100 trillion. That's real. That is a real note. It's no longer worth anything, but that's how bad it inflated. 100 trillion. I like to give that to the Federal Reserve and pay off their amount, and I want my change. Because we only owe like what, 35 trillion? Well, I got that covered. 100 trillion for the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. This has happened to them so many times, they quit printing money. They use the pound, they use the dollar, and I think they use one other, maybe it'd be the euro. They don't even have their own money anymore. Why? They keep printing. You know what governments do? They print. What? Nothing backing it up. But if you back it up with something, guess what? You limit them. They can only print what they print, or they can only spend what they have. Wouldn't that be a novel idea? Everybody would have to live within their means. And in all these cases, like in 2008 in Zimbabwe, they doubled every single day. In these cases, hyperinflation had nothing to do with food availability. Nothing to do with food availability. It had to do with government mismanagement and rampant printing of money. So, I want to tell you real quick that you can go get 90% silver. That would be like quarters and dimes and half dollars and silver dollars. You can get these 1 ounce gold rounds, all kinds. You can get American silver eagle. Canadians make one called a maple leaf. The Canadian version is 4 nines pure, 99.99% pure silver. And look for the cheapest. Go in and ask them, what's your premium on the 90% silver, the coins from, these gold rounds. It doesn't matter what's on there. Don't be vain. If it's got a rat snake on there, buy it. If it's got the right premium on it. And maple leaves or whatever. You notice that Donald Trump did not put any tariffs on gold and silver. And by the way, that big slug of gold is coming to the United States for a reason. I mean, it's huge. I mean, it blew the charts it blew everybody's charts right off the thing. Every economist in the world went, what is going on? They know something's coming. Things are changing. BRICS has been talking, but our president may be going to jump in there before. He said something. He put it on Truth Social. He said, he that hath the gold makes, how's it go? He that hath the gold makes the rules. Yeah, the golden rule. He that hath the gold makes the rules. They said, well, that's when this slug is of gold, tons and tons of it. To where it put, you should be able to order gold and in 3 days it should be on its way. 6 weeks now. Why is it coming? Because something's going to happen here. You say, when? I don't know. Maybe this year, maybe next year. Maybe the year after, I don't know. I know one thing, if you're going to start what we call stacking, you got to do it now. You got to start putting aside a little bit here and there. You're not going to lose out, because if it goes, how much will that be worth? The only thing I'll care about is it worth it at the grocery store? Will it buy me food? And it will buy me food. There's one thing about gold, silver. See, God established gold, silver, and brass anywhere in the world. It has worth, not just here. That's a good thing. Also, you can buy bars, jewelry, silverware. I mean, silverware is fine, but, I wouldn't have to take a spoon to a grocery store. Consider that. And by the way, that's some information Keith gave me. I just read off here on that. About those. You sent me some information. It was good. I think that's all I got to say. And I know it was a kind of roundabout, fragmented way. You say, why are you telling me that? Because my conscience won't allow me not to. Because if this thing goes and I didn't at least show you that, I'd feel bad. Now, I did this in 2010, had some folks buy some silver. Some of them bought it at a little bit higher rate than what I would have wanted to, but it won't make no difference in about a year. The premium you're going to pay is not going to matter, especially for silver because it's dirt cheap. It's not going to matter because if it folds, and this is the reason why you're getting it, this is the reason why you're setting aside some, maybe not a lot, but some, is because if it goes, you're still going to be able to go to the grocery store. You still might be able to make the tax payment on your house. So they don't take your house from you. Anybody in debt's exposed. So just consider that. And if you want to know things I feel about it, I'll give you my opinion on it. You can do whatever you want. If you don't want to do nothing about it, don't. That's fine with me. I just want to get it off my chest because I've been seeing this for a long time. And man, I can't find anybody that disagrees with, you got all these people, they'll disagree, you get 50 different opinions, they're all the same. They're all the same. And that is the reset is coming. And they have to because they have devalued the dollar down to nothing. You see what holds it together? Confidence. You know that? When you go to the store and you buy something, you have confidence that that paper money that you're handing that cashier has value, right? What happens if the confidence fails? It's over with. And things are starting to fail. Anyway, that's what I have for you. Let's all stand. I'll dismiss in prayer. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Take it or leave it. Like I said, I'm not telling anybody to go into debt to do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. But if you've got a little nest egg and you can take a little certain percentage of that, even a very small percentage of it, you're not going to lose out. It's real money. It's real money. So you can't lose out. But if everything falls apart, you'll be glad you did. I'll be glad you did. All right, let's have a word of prayer. Father, God, thank you for today, and thank you for the opportunity to bring this as pretty pathetic. The way I put it together or the way I delivered it, Lord, is pretty pathetic and scatterbrained and